Cavalry rarely tested in this one. They're making things look too easy for me.
Yeah, they were. I thought Halifax actually cut through their pressure quite well at times, but overall they just looked so dominant, and the way they just closed things out in the second half, kind of switching to more of a defensive shape. Again, they just look so comfortable this tournament, whereas Forge sometimes look a little shaky at times, maybe not as dominant as they were last season. I still think, and I mentioned this about Forge, I still think Cavalry also have another gear to hit yet. And they've just, right now, as you said, it looks, it's not, but it looks very easy for them right now.
I wonder if that's maybe the only difference right now between Forge and Cavalry, is that I think Forge is probably playing at its best right now. Have they peaked? Perhaps. Whereas Cavalry, I think they're in cruise control, but also resting players. The rotation is there. We haven't even seen Cordova yet, who is rated very highly to come in and replace Dominic Malonga. Cavalry, for me, right now is on top of the competition. You
know what the difference is? And I've been mentioning this on a few broadcasts. Finishing. They have the finishing where so many teams do not. That Jordan Brown goal, I mean, yeah, we can talk about the atrocious defending there, but that's the difference with this Cavalry team compared to almost every other team in the tournament. They have players up front that know what to do when they're in that 6-yard box.
Over the last 2 years in the Canadian Premier League, when they score first, they haven't lost a game. In fact, they've only drawn 2 of them. So they go up and they smother out games. Why can't any other team mount any kind of sustained attack, which is really effective, to get back into the game against Cavalry? Are they too organized? Are they too good defensively? What is it, Kurtz?
I think it's those things, but I also think it's not hurting yourself in the defensive end, right? So they don't make mistakes in their defensive third. They have safe players. Dominic Zator, we rarely see him make a bad play. Wielden is one of the best passers in the league. They're very safe at the back, very experienced at the back, and they never hurt themselves. They never lose a game because of themselves.
There's a difference to me between using a press that has a lot of energy and just has players running and running and running and almost trying to scare the opposition into turnovers, and then there's effective pressing. And that's what I see from Cavalry, so often, is just effective pressing, knowing exactly when to press, knowing when to surround players with numbers, right? And that's what I see from Cavalry, again, that I don't see from other teams in this league.
To steal a line from Greg Vanney, they don't compound mistakes with other mistakes.
Right.
So even if they make a mistake, they're not making multiple errors.
But don't you need to force them into a position where they're uncomfortable? Like everything in this tournament, albeit for a stretch against Forge in the second half, where the Hamilton side did clearly look like the better team over the latter stages, that has kind of been the only resistance against this Cavalry team that we've seen.
So what is that? Is that fouling them? Like what does that look like?
Maybe playing a little bit more adventurous, maybe trying to play on the front foot a little bit more, rather than playing defensive to deal with the threats that Cavalry has. You have to play in a different way, right? Because these teams, anyone not named Forge, has had 0 success against Cavalry.
I guess if you're another team, you're looking at this result, and you're not saying this is probably going to be a loss, but you're saying we know where we can get points, and we're probably not going to get them against Cavalry, so that's not the game where we want to overexert ourselves.
But isn't it a free shot? Because teams are going in as underdogs anyways. I'd like to see a team try to go out and express themselves and push on to win the game rather than to sit back and earn a point.
You think a team like Halifax has players to express themselves?
Absolutely. That's Halifax's 3rd game at this tournament. This is the 4th match for Cavalry.
I think you're
telling me that fatigue doesn't play into factors here. It should, at the least.
Not when you're rotating.
You should force them into uncomfortable situations.
Not when you're rotating that much, not when you have the bench Cavalry does. The only time that I've seen Cavalry actually have the game taken to them was first leg of the CPL finals at Tim Hortons Field. The caveat is that because Cavalry beat themselves that game by trying to sit back, and they wanted to sit back and absorb and then get out on the counterattack. The only time I've seen Cavalry actually really get completely dominated was a game where their game plan was wrong.
Let's hear from their head coach, Wheels Up, Tommy Wielden Jr. Another night, another win from his Cavalry side.
Tommy, was that another job well done?
It was a job we had to get done. It was a bit of a different game than we've had previously, but we've got to find a way to win. There's different problems being faced all the time. We're rotating our lineup. We're trying to add a little bit of freshness, but look, it's 4-game fatigue, a little bit in some shape, but I thought we had to see it out well. I mean, Nico's made 1 save and then had the PK, so we're reducing them. I'd just like us to be a little bit tidier in possession today, that's all.
Nico did come in for his first game of the season. How nice is it to have that kind of quality on the bench?
He's quality. I mean, I feel for him there because he was fighting for the clean sheet, and it's been a tournament of PK, so I guess we had to have one go against us at some point.
Marcus Haber with another start today. Physically, he looks like a different player from last year.
He's lively. He's enjoying his football again. He's leaned up in the off season. He's worked hard in the pre-season with us. He's hungry. He's running spaces in behind. He's trying to connect the dots. He's again. I'd like to see his goal because it was scored and disallowed. But he looks the player that we thought he would be in this league, and he's been a great foil between him and Brownie. Brownie scores again, and it's pleasing to have that type of strikers in your artillery.
Your place in the next round is pretty much secure at this point. What would you like to get out of these remaining 3 games?
Do you know what? This is a really good one because I thought Halifax pressed us. They fought. There was chippiness to it, and being able to just play our way through it. I'm proud of the lads for not getting engaged with the referee and things like that. We just had to get on with things. It was a tough game, but credit to Halifax. They kept going. I just like us to have put the game to bed a little earlier and a few less grey hairs, but it's 3 points and it's valuable in this tournament.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thanks.
Good stuff from Tommy Wheeldon Jr. Good transition as well into our thoughts on Halifax. Still 2 points through three games played, and arguably they played the 3 top teams here at the Island Games in Pacific, Forge, and Cavalry. So have you seen enough from this Halifax team that you would consider them a favorite for the top 4?
I think they're a playoff team. And I say that because I think they were really unlucky today. That first goal, again, that does not go in 99% of the time.
They could have conceded 6 times today.
No. Here's what sticks out to me. Hold on. Here's what sticks out to me. Tommy Wheeldon says this was a different game than we kind of thought it was going to be, right? So I guess what I want to know is, what did Halifax do today that kind of surprised them? I think they figured out a way to kind of cut through the lines really, really well. I know I talk a lot about Sissoko. I think he's an incredible player.
He is.
One of the better midfielders, one of the better kind of defensive midfielders and distributors in this tournament so far. And I think today we saw a team that could slowly start to cut apart Cavalry with long passes. And I wonder if that's something that maybe caught Tommy off guard a bit.
I like Halifax. I think they can make the playoffs, but we're talking about Haber having a goal disallowed. We're talking about Jordan Brown missing absolute sitter. We're talking about Haber also missing on a few breakaways, a 2-on-1. This game could have been 4 or 5-1.
They've played the best 3 teams in the tournament. They have that out of the way.
They've
only lost once.
They can make the playoffs.
But they have to figure out how to score.
Do you know what I want to see Stephen Hart do in these upcoming games? Just loosen the collar a little bit. Not physically, but just let some of his attacking players go out and express themselves. They're a very good defensive team.
They have to get Alex Marshall
in Halifax?
going. No.
Well, they need Alex Marshall going. Akeem Garcia, they need to foster that relationship. I think they have something in Bent, but I think that they need to just put out a team that's a little bit more attack-minded in the coming games. That's at least what I'd like to see out of Halifax.
They miss Perea.